Hi, Andy. Good morning. Online people, please confirm my voice is audible or not.
Audible, sir.
Okay, thank you. So as part of previous session, we discussed about Cloud SQL by using Postgres. So after that, we discussed about how to create Postgres instance. And after that, we discussed about how to perform integration between Cloud SQL and BigQuery. And we discussed about one more concept called as a external query in BigQuery. So these are all the different topics we covered as part of our previous session. So today we are going to start discussing about a new service, Andy, which is nothing but Dataproc service. So today we are going to start a new service, which is nothing but Dataproc. Just 1 second. So we'll quickly try to understand what is the Dataproc, and with that we can able to start the practicals on the Dataproc only. So it's very simple. Actually, what is the purpose of the GCS or Google Cloud Storage? What is the purpose of cloud storage? To
Storing
store
the data.
all the data,
Files,
or we can able to call
objects.
to store the files or objects or anything. We are going to use the cloud storage. In the same way, what is the purpose of the BigQuery? It's a kind of a cloud data warehouse system. If you want to build the kind of a data warehouse system, then we are going to use the BigQuery. In the same way, what is the cloud SQL?
It's a
If you
relational
want to
database.
do any kind of operations on the relational database systems, in the situation, simply we can able to use the cloud SQL. So like this, for example, if we take the compute engine, what is the purpose of the compute engine service? To create
set
the
up the VMs.
virtual machines. So whenever you want to create any kind of virtual machines by depending on your requirement, then we are going to use the service called as a compute engine. Indirectly, all these are the different services we are having for dealing different kind of activities. And in the same way, here we are going to have the one more service called as nothing but Dataproc service. Dataproc is again one of the GCP service. By using this service, what we can do here is we can able to manage Spark and Hadoop related processing. So what we are doing here, simply we can able to, in the simple words, we can able to say with the help of the Dataproc, we can able to handle the Hadoop related processing, and we can able to handle the Spark related processing. Now immediately we can able to get the questions: what is the Hadoop, or what is the Spark, and what is the big data? So like this, we can able to get so many questions, Sandy. So in the coming classes, in detail, we are going to discuss about what is the big data, what is the Spark, and what is the Hadoop. But today we'll try to understand what is the purpose of the Dataproc service. By using the Dataproc service, how we can able to handle the Hadoop clusters, or how we can able to perform the processing by using the Spark and big data. Now simply we can able to say what is the Dataproc. Dataproc is nothing but it's a kind of a service to manage your Hadoop related processing, or to manage your Spark related processing. We are going to use the Dataproc. Now whenever we are going to deal with the big data, or whenever we are going to deal with the Hadoop, we need to create the clusters. Any idea what is the meaning of the clusters? It's nothing but group of machines. So why we are going to deal with the group of machines? And it's very simple. As part of big data, here in big data, we are going to deal with very huge volume of the data. So as part of big data, what we are doing here, we are going to deal with the very huge volume of the data. Now, if you want to maintain huge volume of the data, or if you want to maintain, or if you want to process huge volume of data, we need to maintain multiple nodes or multiple machines. So what we have to do here, if you want to deal with the big data, so as part of big data only, we are going to deal with the very huge volume of the data. When we are going to deal with the very huge volume of the data, what we have to do here, we need to maintain the data, or we can able to call, we need to save the data, or we need to store the data. At the same time, we need to process that huge volume of the data. But if you want to store the huge volume of data, or if you want to process the huge volume of the data, we need to maintain the single node, or we need to maintain the multiple node, or we need to maintain the single virtual machine, or we have to maintain the multiple virtual machines. And obviously we have to maintain the multiple virtual machines if you want to deal with the very huge volume of data, or if you want to process very huge volume of the data. So here we are going to give the two different statements. One is storage, one is processing. So whenever we are going to deal with the big data, so we are going to see the two kind of problems, and one is nothing but storage. As part of dealing with the big data, we need to store the huge amount of data. After storing the huge amount of data, what is the next activity we need to perform? On top of that huge volume of the data, we need to perform the processing activity. So indirectly, on top of big data, we need to perform the storage activities, and we need to perform the processing activities. And we are dealing the storage and processing on small volume of data or huge volume of the data. Obviously, we are going to perform these operations on top of the huge volume of the data. Now, whenever you want to store the huge volume of the data, or whenever you want to process huge volume of the data, obviously what we have to do here, we need to maintain multiple machines, or we can able to call multiple nodes, or we can able to call multiple VMs. And so whenever you want to deal with the huge volume of data for storage, or whenever you want to deal with the huge volume of data for processing, we have to maintain the multiple machines, or we need to maintain the multiple nodes, or we need to maintain the multiple virtual machines. And now whenever we are going to deal with the multiple machines, or multiple nodes, or multiple virtual machines, that only we can able to call it as a cluster. Just to understand what is the meaning of the cluster, I'm trying to give this information. Cluster is nothing but collection of virtual machines, or we can able to say collection of nodes, or we can able to say collection of machines. And now tell me, actually, if you are going to deal with a huge amount of data, who need to create this kind of clusters? We need to create these kind of clusters. So we, in the sense, don't think as a data engineer, we are not going to create it. Our admin team is going to create, but this is the one of the activity we need to perform if you want to deal with the big data. So whenever you want to deal with the clusters, or whenever you want to deal with the big data, so what we have to do here, we need to create the clusters. We, in the sense, our admin team is going to create all these kind of clusters. And but instead of doing this activity manually, we are going to use Dataproc service to manage cluster related activities. So what we are going to do here indirectly, with the help of the Dataproc, it is going to handle all the cluster related activities. And but why we are going to create the cluster? To maintain the big data, we are going to maintain the clusters, and within the big data, for the purpose of storage, we are going to use the for the purpose of storage, or for the purpose of processing, we are going to use the Hadoop framework. So simply I can able to say here like this. With the help of Hadoop framework, we are going to perform storage operations, and we are going to perform data processing operations. So in the Hadoop framework, what we are going to do here, we are going to perform the storage operations. At the same time, we are going to perform the data processing operations. As part of storage, or as part of data processing, we are going to deal with the very huge amount of data. For that reason, obviously, we need to maintain the clusters. Now, if you want to create the kind of a big data clusters, or if you want to create the kind of a Hadoop clusters, or if you want to create the kind of a Spark clusters, and in the GCP, we are going to use the service called as nothing but Dataproc service. For the reason, if you see the statement here, Google Cloud Dataproc is what kind of service it is? It is a kind of a managed Apache Spark and Apache Hadoop service that simplify the process of creating and managing the clusters for big data processing and analytics. And to deal with the big data processing and analytics, we need to create the clusters. But if you are going to use the Dataproc, what is going to happen? Dataproc is going to simplify all these kind of operations as part of creation of your clusters. Okay. Otherwise, if you want, you can able to forget all these statements, and just remember like this. We are using Dataproc to manage Hadoop and Spark related data processing clusters. In the simple words, we can able to say, what is the purpose of Dataproc? To manage Hadoop and Spark related data processing clusters. In the GCP, we are going to use the service called as nothing but Dataproc. What is the purpose of the BigQuery? To build the cloud data warehouse system, we are going to maintain the BigQuery. What is the Google Store GCS? To maintain the data or to maintain the objects, we are going to use the GCS. In the same way, what is the purpose of the Dataproc? We can able to say, to manage Hadoop and Spark related data processing clusters. We are going to use the service called as nothing but Dataproc. And simply we can able to say, with this, we can able to save good amount of time while dealing with clusters. So what is going to happen here? We are not going to create the clusters manually. Just we are going to provide some kind of minimal inputs, and with the minimal inputs, what will happen? Automatically, it is going to create the clusters by depending on it. It is going to create the clusters in the combination of so many machines. But who need to specify how many machines you want to maintain? As a user, you need to specify how many machines you want to deal. This is a minimal input we are going to give to the Dataproc service, and just we are going to provide how many number of virtual machines you want to maintain to create the cluster. That kind of information we are giving. With that, what will happen? Automatically, your Dataproc will create the cluster. But in this cluster, what we are going to get? We are going to get the Hadoop framework. We are going to get the Spark, and we are going to get some other kind of services also on top of your Dataproc. This is the way simply we can able to understand what is the purpose of our Dataproc. Okay. Now you only try to give the answer. If anyone is going to ask this question, what all are features of Dataproc? What we can able to say, as we discussed earlier, for every service we are going to see the similar kind of features, and
availability.
Dataproc we are going to have the scalability feature. In Dataproc we are going to have the high availability feature. In the Dataproc we are going to have the security feature. In the Dataproc we are going to have the fault tolerance features. Again, no need to discuss about all these topics one more time, and just you can able to understand whatever the features earlier we discussed on top of the other services, same features are going to applicable on top of your Dataproc also. But what is the purpose of the Dataproc? We are going to use the Dataproc to create our Hadoop clusters or to create our Spark clusters. We are going to use the service called as a Dataproc service. Okay. In the same way, just we'll try to understand. So see here I added some features, and I will share this information later. But try to understand what all are the features of the cloud Dataproc. First one, what we are saying, as we discussed already, by using the Dataproc, we can able to manage the clusters, and which is nothing but from our side, just we are going to specify how many number of machines you want to maintain. With that, it will create the clusters automatically. It will maintain the network automatically. It will maintain the communication between all the virtual machines automatically. All those kind of operations automatically will taken care by your Dataproc. That feature only we are calling it as nothing but managed clusters. Second one, with the help of the Dataproc, you can able to integrate with any kind of GCP service. And for example, if you remember in the previous class, we discussed about Cloud SQL. With the help of Cloud SQL, what we did? We integrated with BigQuery by depending on our requirement. In the same way, with the help of the Dataproc also, we can able to integrate with the other services, and we can able to integrate with the GCS if you want, or we can able to integrate with the BigQuery if you want, or we can able to integrate with the Dataflow if you want. Like that, we can able to integrate with the different services on top of our GCP. Dataproc is one of the GCP service. By using this GCP service, what we can do here, you can able to integrate with the other services also by depending on our requirement. That is the feature we are calling it as a integration with GCP services. In the same way, Dataproc is going to support multiple open source frameworks, and actually whatever the Spark we are discussing, whatever the Hadoop we are discussing, all these are nothing but open source frameworks. All these kind of open source frameworks automatically we are going to get as part of using our Dataproc. Within the Dataproc cluster, automatically it is going to provide the Spark applications, automatically it is going to provide the peak, automatically it is going to provide the Hive. It is going to provide all these kind of applications on top of your Dataproc cluster indirectly. Once we are going to create Dataproc cluster, no need to install Hadoop
big data
related tag, or I can able to say big data related stack. So whatever the multiple applications we are having in the big data, so those applications no need to install separately, because whenever we are going to create the Dataproc cluster, automatically what it is doing here, it is going to install all the required open source frameworks. And what are the required open source frameworks we are having here? Spark, Hadoop, Pig, Hive. Like this, we are having the so many different open source frameworks. All those open source frameworks are automatically installed on top of your cluster. Now indirectly what we are doing here, just we are going to specify how many number of machines you want to create. With that, automatically cluster is creating. At the same time, within the cluster, it is installing all the required softwares also, which is nothing but as a user, just you are going to use the cluster for the purpose of your coding activities and the installation, creation. Nowhere we are not involving, just we are going to specify how many number of virtual machines you want to give. That information only we are giving. With that, it will create the cluster. In the cluster, it is going to install all the required big data related stack. With that, automatically you can able to perform all your dev related activities on top of your clusters. In the same way, what is meant by customization? Any guesses?
Customization means we can install any type of big data Apache, anything like that.
I am telling that already it is installing the multiple softwares by default on top of your cluster. Now, as part of your requirement, other than these applications or other than these softwares, you want to work on the some other software on top of your cluster, then what we can do here, if you want, we can able to perform the customization activity also, which is nothing but on top of this cluster, you can able to install other softwares also by depending on our requirement. And they are giving some default softwares. Other than those default softwares, what we can do here, you can able to perform the customization by depending on our requirement. That is the one more feature we are having on top of your Dataproc service. In the same way, what is meant by scaling? Already we discussed. By depending on the requirement, it will increase the number of the machines, or it can able to decrease the number of machines. Yeah. That we can able to call it as a scaling activity. In the Dataproc, we are having the feature called as a auto scaling, which is nothing but by depending on the amount of data processing we are doing, it will increase the machines automatically, or it will decrease the machines also automatically. That kind of feature only we can able to call it as a auto scaling. Next one, cluster lifecycle management. What it means indirectly? Already we discussed above only. So Dataproc is going to manage the cluster creation and cluster maintenance, all these kind of activities end to end. That only we can able to call it as a cluster lifecycle management. Creation of the cluster, maintaining the network, and managing the cluster, deletion of the cluster, all these kind of activities your Dataproc only will take care. That kind of feature only we are calling it as a cluster lifecycle management. In the same way, what is meant by high availability? Already we discussed earlier. At any point of time, your Dataproc service is going to be available. How much availability GCP is going to provide? 99.999% GCP is going to provide as a high availability. This kind of feature is available on the Dataproc also, Randy. On the BigQuery, we are having the same feature. On the GCS, we are having the same feature. On the Compute Engine also, we are having the same feature. In the same way, for Dataproc also, they are going to provide the high availability feature. At the same time, they are going to provide the highest security on top of your Dataproc clusters. All these are the different features Dataproc is providing on our GCP accounts. Okay. Any questions up to here? Please ask me.
Sir, they are supporting the open sources, right?
Yes.
So by default, they are giving all these open sources in the list. By creating this one. Okay.
Yes.
So container is nothing but a collection of nodes, something, or VMs like that. Okay.
Yes. Okay.
So all the nodes should be installed the same software, or different can be managed like that.
No. If you are going to install the software on the master system, so automatically it is going to install same thing into all the virtual machines. Okay. Cluster is nothing but it's a collection of the multiple machines. If we are going to perform the installation activity, what will happen in all the machines? Automatically, same software is going to install.
Okay. So the master is going to handle all these nodes.
Yes, correct.
Okay. One more thing is there. This is auto scaling, right? So auto scaling is nothing but it will maintain itself, right?
Yes, correct.
So
but we need to enable
yes, correct. Okay, that's how many machines?
Yeah, so whatever the properties we are talking here, all these properties Dataproc is providing. So what I told earlier, Dataproc will create the cluster. But if you want to create the cluster, you have to specify how many number of machines you want to maintain in the cluster. That is the minimal input. In the same way, if you want to enable the auto scaling feature, we have to give that kind of input to the Dataproc cluster while creation. With that input, what will happen? It is going to perform the auto scaling activity indirectly. Whenever we are going to create the Dataproc cluster, clusters, we have to give some kind of minimal inputs. With those minimal inputs, we are going to get all these kind of features automatically.
Okay, do we need to mention to increase this when see I have given while auto scaling 10 VMs are there, okay?
Okay.
So right now my data is minimum like
yeah, you
10.
can define the rules only. So by depending on the amount of data you are dealing, you can able to specify whether you want to increase or you want to decrease. That kind of rules we have to specify as part of our auto scaling.
Cool. Thank you very much.
Okay, no problem. Any other questions up to here?
So in the compute engine only we are doing the VMs, right, sir? But again, why the Dataproc also coming the same process?
But in the compute engine, can you able to create the clusters? In the compute engine, you are going to create the individual virtual machines only. But coming to here, what we are discussing, we are going to create the cluster in the combination of multiple machines. That is first thing. Second thing, in the compute engine, you are going to create the virtual machine. But in that virtual machine, are we going to get the big data stack, Hadoop, Spark, and all these things? No. But as part of Dataproc, what is happening here? This is specific to our big data processing. For that reason, as part of creation of the cluster, it is going to manage the Spark related stack and it is going to maintain the Hadoop related stack. And your question is valid. In the compute engine also, we are going to create the virtual machines only. But in the compute engine, you have to create the one by one virtual machine manually. And in every virtual machine, we have to install the software and everything manually. But in the Dataproc, what is going to happen? We are going to create the cluster. On top of the cluster, if you want, we can able to specify the how many number of machines you want to create. At the same time, as part of creation of the cluster itself, it is going to handle all the software installations and everything, because Dataproc is specifically dealing with the Hadoop related services and Apache Spark related services. For that reason, as part of Dataproc cluster creation, it will create the machines in parallel. It will install all the required services also on top of your virtual machines. Is it clear?
Okay, sir, clear.
So this Dataproc will be created by DevOps team or data engineer itself?
Yeah, now as part of the classes we are going to create, but if you are going to work in the real time only, so your DevOps team or your admin team is going to create the Dataproc clusters. But if you want to understand the Dataproc, we have to perform some practicals on the Dataproc. In the class, we are going to discuss about how to create the Dataproc cluster. On top of that, we are going to discuss about how by using the Spark or by using the Hadoop, what kind of activities we are going to perform as a cloud data engineer.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay, just will proceed only. Now my requirement is I want to open the Dataproc in the GCP account. So how to open that? Is it simple activity or complex activity? It's very simple only. Just you need to go to the console.cloud.google.com. There you can able to search for your required service. With that, automatically you can able to see the Dataproc service. After that, on top of the Dataproc service, we can able to create our clusters by depending on our requirement. We'll do all the activities in parallel. And one more important thing, same thing that I can able to say, next 2 to 3 hours are very, very important, because we are going to perform more practicals on Dataproc by using different types of scenarios. So instead of focusing on the more theoretical, so we'll do more practicals on the Dataproc. With that, you can able to get a clear picture what kind of activities we are going to perform on top of the Dataproc. And if you are missing 5 minutes in between the class, automatically what will happen? You cannot able to understand what we are discussing in the next 5 minutes. And for that reason, please put your complete focus on top of the points, whatever we are discussing. It is very easy. Only thing is nothing but we are going to discuss about the multiple scenarios, or we are going to discuss about the complex use case as part of our Dataproc. That's the reason just you have to put the more focus on it. Don't assume that Dataproc is complex. Dataproc is very simple. Only thing we need to understand what all are the activities we are going to perform in the step by step. At the same time, we are going to deal with the one more use case on top of using the Dataproc, just to try to understand what is the use case, just to try to understand in which order we need to perform the activities. With that, automatically, easily we can able to understand how we need to use the Dataproc as a cloud data engineer in our real-time projects. Okay, just we'll start on this. First step, what we'll do here is we'll create Dataproc cluster. So first step, we'll create the Dataproc cluster. For that, please open the console.cloud.google.com. So please open console.cloud.google.com. After that, please search for Dataproc. Please search for Dataproc. Here you can able to see the Dataproc and here if you observe in the below they give the description, small description. What is the purpose of the Dataproc here? To manage Apache Hadoop related services, we are going to use the Dataproc. Just click on this. Click on Dataproc. Okay. So once you click on the Dataproc only, so there you can able to see the option as a create cluster, or you can able to see the option as a enable API. If you are seeing the option as enable API, please click on that. Or if you are seeing the option as a create cluster, click on that. Any one of the thing only. If you are first time working, it will display the message called as a enable API. If it is displaying the message as enable API, please click on that. For example, if it is displaying the directly create the cluster, please click on that, create the cluster.
That we are getting to options, cluster on compute engine or cluster on GK.
Yeah, I will tell you only. So please wait for that. Please click on create cluster. If it is asking enable API, please click on the enable API. If it is asking create the cluster, please click on the create cluster. Now, if you observe here, once we are going to click on the create cluster, it is given the two options only. One is clusters on the compute engine. Other one is cluster on the GKE. GKE is nothing but Google Kubernetes Engine. As part of our classes, we are not going to discuss about the Kubernetes only. We are going to discuss about cluster on the compute engine. For that reason, please click on the create of the cluster on compute engine. Please click on create. First create, not second one, first one. Okay. So once you click on the create button, it is going to display the message. It is going to display the window like this only. In this window only, we are going to configure all the required nodes and we are going to configure all the required things only. So first one, it is asking the cluster name. You can give any name by depending on your convenience. Here, just I'm giving it as a sample. Don't give the spaces. Without spaces and without underscores, you can give any name. Just give us kind of a generic name only. So for my understanding, just I'm giving it as a sample. What is this? This is my cluster name. And after that, you have to select the location. So leave these values as a default values only. But please remember what is the zone value it is taking only. Here for some people it will take it as a US Central 1C. Some people it is taking it as a US Central 1F. Some people it is taking it as a US Central 1E. Like that, by default it will take the different types of the zones. If you want, you can give the zone as a -C. If you don't want, don't do any kind of changes. Just leave it as is. Nothing is going to happen if you are going to use the different zones also. That's the reason. Don't do any modifications. If you want, you can able to modify it to the -C by depending on your convenience.
One more thing, sir.
Yeah,
So these zones should be matched all the like bucket, BQ, all those things.
no, it's not required. So no,
Okay.
we don't have any such kind of thing.
Okay, because see, actually in previous in BQ and bucket should be on same region,
Yeah,
right?
that is correct.
Okay.
But comment here, it's not required like that.
Okay, okay, okay.
Okay. Now see here, next one, it is asking about the cluster type only. So if you observe the cluster type, earlier we discussed, right? We can able to create the cluster by using the so many number of machines, or we can able to create the cluster by using the single machine by depending on our requirement. If you see the first option, standard, what they are asking, one master, n workers, what it means indirectly. We are going to create the cluster by depending on number of virtual machines by depending on our requirement. And n is nothing but here you have to specify the n value. You want to create the 5 machines, or you want to create the 10 machines, or you want to create the 10 machines. What about the second option? This is the single node, which is nothing but you are going to create the cluster with the single machine, which is nothing but we are going to have the only master. We are not going to have any kind of workers only. In the same way, we are having the one more option called as a high availability. In the high availability, we are going to have the 3 master machines and we are going to have the n worker machines only, which is nothing but by using the first option, by using the third option, you can able to create any number of virtual machines by depending on our requirement. But by using the second option, what is going to happen? You are going to create the cluster with the help of the only single machine. Now you tell me, out of these 3 things, in the real time, which option we are going to choose? Any guesses?
One master and workers.
In the real time, we are going to use either first one or third one, and
Yes.
because in the real time, we need to maintain the kind of a high availability. That's the reason.
Yeah.
If you are going to work in the real time, we are going to deal with the huge volume of the data as part of our real time projects. For the reason, either we are going to select the first option or we are going to select the third option. But what is the problem with the first option or third option in the class? If you are going to choose the multiple machines, what will happen? Automatically, it is going to have the huge cost. For that reason, for our practice purpose, instead of going for the first option or third option, we are going to choose with the second option. But you tell me, if you are going to perform the practice on first one or second one or third one, is there any difference? Work wise or practical wise, there is no difference. And only thing is nothing but in the first one or third one, we are dealing with the multiple virtual machines. But coming to second one, we are going to deal with the only single virtual machine, only for the purpose of cost saving. What we are doing here, we are selecting the option called as a single node. Okay, please select the second option. Please select the second option. And see here, once we are going to select the second option, what it is doing here, it is going to create the cluster and it is going to create the multiple virtual machines. In those virtual machines, it is going to create the image or it is going to provide the platform. What is the platform it is going to provide? It is providing the platform called as a 2.1 Debian 11. It's a kind of a UNIX platform. And if you want to understand with this image, what all are the softwares it is installing, please click on this Learn More. Just click on the Learn More once. Click on Learn More. Once you click on the Learn More, it is going to open the window like this. And now in our image, what is the version it is installing? It is installing the version called as a 2.1 Debian 11. For that reason, what I am going to do here is just click on this 2.1 Debian 11. Okay. Now, if you observe here, Andy, here we can able to say with the 2.1 Debian 11 version, what are the softwares we are getting? What are the softwares we are getting? Flink, Hadoop, Hive, Kafka, Pig, Spark. All these softwares are automatically going to install on top of your cluster. If you want to understand what all are the softwares are installing as part of creation of this cluster, just we need to click on the Learn More. Once you are going to click on the Learn More, what will happen here? Automatically it will display all the list of the softwares which it is going to install. Okay, only for understanding, I asked you to click on that one. And please come back to our previous window. Just go back to your previous tab. So we are going to select the cluster as a single node. After that, here we can able to see which image is installing on top of all the virtual machines. With this image, it is installing all the required softwares. If you want to understand what all are the softwares it is installing, we need to click on the simply Learn More. With that, you can able to understand what all are the softwares installing on top of your cluster. Okay, so just scroll down. Here you can able to see one more option called as a optional components. And here you can able to see all this list of the components. Out of these components, which components you want to install, we can able to select. For now, please select only Jupyter Notebook. This we are using for our Python activities. And anyhow, we are going to discuss about the Python might be from tomorrow or day after tomorrow onwards. For that reason, just to scroll below. Here you can able to take the optional components. Within the optional components, please select the Jupyter Notebook. So indirectly, I can able to say in this window, we are not doing anything. Just we are giving the cluster name and we are selecting the option called as a single node. After that, just we are enabling the option called as a Jupyter Notebook. And these are the activities we are performing on top of this entire window. Okay. After doing all these activities, just click on Create button. Or if you want, before click on the Create button, for example, you want to create the Dataproc cluster from the Cloud SDK. And for example, if you want to create the same Dataproc cluster from the Cloud SDK, what we have to do? We need to use our Cloud SDK commands. What is the command you want to use if you want to understand? If you see here we can able to see option called as a equivalent command line. Just click on that once. If you click on that, here you can able to see the command which we can able to use from the Cloud SDK, and from the Cloud SDK, if you want to create the Dataproc cluster, we can able to perform that activity. But if you want to perform that activity, what is the command we need to use? This is the command we need to use: gcloud dataproc. After that, we are giving all the required parameters. With that, you can able to create the clusters. But this activity will do later. Just I'm showing that how we can able to create the clusters from the Cloud SDK. For now, just please close this one. We are going to create the cluster from the console only for now. Just I'm repeating. Please open the console.cloud.google.com. Within that, please search for the Dataproc. After that, please click on the create cluster. After that, give the cluster name, select the type of the cluster, and enable the Jupyter Notebook. Only these three changes we are doing here. After that, please click on the create button. Please click on create. Okay, it will take 2-3 minutes of time to create the cluster and so it is showing the message as a provisioning or run or processing, something like that. After 2-3 minutes, we can able to see the message as a running. What is the meaning of running here? Your cluster is created, at the same time your cluster is in the running mode. Once it is showing the status as a running, then on top of that cluster we can able to perform all our required activities. Okay, but before that, just I want to cover a few more topics here. Now see, for example, we are creating the cluster. As part of clusters, what is happening here? It is going to create the virtual machines. Now my requirement is I want to connect to this virtual machine from local system. Any guesses what we can do here? This is the one of the topic we covered as part of our previous classes, Sandy. Here, forgot about the cluster. You created our virtual machine. After creation of the virtual machine, I want to connect to this virtual machine from the local system. How we can able to perform that activity?
From Putty we can connect.
By using our Putty shell. And if you remember, as part of discussing about the compute engine, we discussed about how we can able to create the virtual machine. After creation of the virtual machine, what we have done? We connected to the virtual machine with the help of the Putty shell. After that, I hope we perform some practice on the UNIX commands also, Randy. In the same way, now also what we are going to do here? We are going to create the cluster. In the cluster, what is going to happen? It is going to create the virtual machine. Now, if you want to connect to the cluster or if you want to connect to the virtual machine, what we can do here? Simply with the help of the Putty shell, we can able to connect to our virtual machine, Sandy. But tell me here, before connecting to the Putty shell, do we need to perform any other activities?
We need to key generation.
Before connecting to Putty shell.
IP, external IPs and also.
First thing, we need to fetch the IP address of your virtual machine. What else?
Generate the key.
We need to generate
Key
the
pair.
key. Now tell me from where we need to generate the key?
Key generator.
We need to generate the key from the Putty gen, Andy. So by using the Putty gen, we are going to generate the key. Don't think that we are discussing any new topics, Andy. All these are the points already we discussed as part of our previous classes 15-20 days back. If you remember, well and good. Otherwise, just to try to recap, Andy. So with the help of the Putty gen, we are going to generate the key. In the Putty gen, we are going to perform one more activity. What was that? We need to specify user name. If you remember, in the Putty gen only we are going to give the username and we are going to perform the one more activity also. What was that? We need to store the key in local system. So we need to store the key in the local system. And why we are going to store the key in the local system?
To match the Putty and the
because
console.
When you are going to open the Putty shell, here we need to give that file, or I can able to say that key file.
Key file.
Generally, this file we are calling it as a PPK file, and we are going to give the PPK file. Now, with this PPK file, what is going to happen? We can able to connect to the Putty. But tell me, in between all these activities, we need to perform the one more activity. What was that?
We need to add this key in the console VM.
Yes, correct. So we need to add this key to our virtual machine. Okay, if you forgot all these things, I can't able to help you, Andy. So because already I told you every topic is interlinked here. Whatever the topics we are discussing earlier, same topics we are repeating again. Trust me, whatever the topic we are discussing today, same topic again we are going to cover after 10 days also. That's the reason you have to remember everything and you have to perform the practice on the daily basis. And already we discussed about all these statements earlier. By using the partition, we need to generate the key. That key we are giving in the virtual machine, and we are going to create a kind of a file called as a PPK file. And by using the PPK file, we are going to connect to the virtual machine with the help of the partition. Don't worry if you forgot also, I am going to show all the steps again one more time, but just I'm giving the heads up. And in the same way, in the coming classes also, we are going to link with our all the previous topics. That's the reason. Don't assume that one topic is not important, one topic is important, and every topic is important if you want to complete the course. Okay, now we'll see whether it's started or not. Okay, so my service is in the started mode, and now my requirement is I want to connect to this cluster. To connect to the cluster, first I want to connect to the partition. To connect to the partition, we need to generate the key. How to generate the key? Try to explain me. Go to start. What next? Search for
open the partition.
partition. So please do this activity in parallel with me. If you want to do practicals, click on partition. Now it is going to open the window like this. In this window, click on generate. And just to move the mouse here like this. Okay, it is going to generate the key like this, and now here we need to change the key comment. In the key comment, we have to specify the username. Here I'm giving my username as a sample. You can give any name, but for my understanding, just I'm given the generic name. I'm giving it as a sample. Click on the generate. Just to move the mouse. With that, you can able to generate the key. After generation of the key, in the key comment, just to change the value that is acting as your username. After that, please click on the save private key. Click on save private key. Click on save private key. Click on yes. It is asking in your path, it is going to create the file and so please select the path. At the same time, please give some name. Please remember that name only because we are going to use the same file in the coming activities. Please give some name in a particular path. After that, please click on the save button. Give some name in a particular path. After that, please click on save button. Okay. Now your key is ready. At the same time, your PPK file also ready. Now what is the next step? We need to link this whole key to our virtual machine. Please copy this whole key and please copy the whole key from the first letter to last letter. Please copy the whole key from first letter to till last letter. Okay. After that, please click on the cluster which you created. Please click on the cluster which you created. From the Dataproc console, just now we created the cluster. Please click on the cluster which you created. After that, please go to the VM instances. After that, in the next window, please go to the VM instances. Okay. Now in the VM instance, we can able to see all the machines. But tell me here, how many machines we created? I created only one. That's the reason it is displaying only one machine, and that is going to act as a master node, and which is nothing but this is the main machine which is going to control all the other machines if we are having. But in our example, we are having the only single machine which we can able to call it as a master machine. Now this is the machine we are having, and if you observe here, beside this machine, the right side, you can able to see option called as a SSH. Don't click on anything, just click on the drop down. Here you can able to see all these options, and if you want to connect to this machine from the console, you can able to click on any one of the option. But my requirement is I don't want to connect to this virtual machine from the console. From the local machine, I want to connect. For that reason, I am not going to use any one of the option here. But if you want to connect to the virtual machine from the console, what we can do here? Here you can able to click on the open in the browser window. With that, this virtual machine we can able to open within your console. But my requirement is I want to connect to this virtual machine from my local system. That's the reason in the VM instances, please click on this virtual machine. please click on virtual machine. Please click on virtual machine. Okay. Now here what we need to do, we need to add the key and now tell me this virtual machine is already created or you are creating now? It's already created with the default properties and default settings and now on top of this virtual machine, I want to add the key. Any guesses what we have to do? We need to click on edit. Please click on the edit. Because I want to add the details on the virtual machine. That's the reason. Please click on the edit. Please click on edit. Okay. After that, please scroll down. Yeah. Here you can able to see one option called as a SSH key sending. Please go to the section called as a SSH keys. And here, please click on the add item. In the SSH keys section, please click on the add item. Okay, there please whatever the key you copied, please paste that copy here. In my virtual machine, already I did this activity. For that reason, from your side only, please click on the add item. After that, it is going to open a text box like this. In that text box, please paste the key, whatever you copied from the footage. Then what next? Just click on save button. Just click on save button.
Sir, two things are there, sir.
Yeah, please.
Sir, one is like Dataproc also having the bucket.
No, Dataproc is not going to have the buckets.
Okay.
Buckets are present only in the GCS.
GCS. Okay.
But in the Dataproc, you can able to store the data. It's a kind of a normal storage and it's not a kind of a bucket.
Okay. So just in the scrolling, I have seen that Dataproc bucket. Okay.
No, that's a different one. So Dataproc bucket is nothing but as part of creation of this Dataproc, it need to maintain some metadata, right? That metadata is storing in the GCS bucket by default.
Okay. Okay.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay. One more thing, sir.
Yeah.
So actually, like whether we data engineers are doing or not, no, do we have the like this option? The principal option is there, right? The in the Dataproc or BigQuery giving the permissions. Are we going to perform this as a data engineer, right?
No, we are not going to perform.
Okay. Okay. So thanks.
Okay. Yeah. So just add the key, click on the save button. So with that, you are given the link to your virtual machine. And after completion of this activity, you only tell me what's the next step. Now we need to connect to the virtual machine. From where we need to connect? From the putty we need to connect. Just to go to start. Open putty. What it is asking now? It is asking your IP address. From where we need to get the IP address? Whatever the cluster you created for that virtual machine, you need to get the IP address. And if you scroll down here, you can able to see the external IP address. Once you click on the save button, you will come to this window. In this window, please scroll down. In one of the places, you can able to see option as a network interfaces. In this network interfaces, you can able to see external IP address. Under network interfaces, you can able to see option as a external IP address. Please copy that. Okay, so give the host name here. In your putty window, please give the IP address, whatever you copied from the Dataproc window only. Please give that IP address. What's the next step? Left side, go to SSH. Network interfaces only. Okay. Left side, go to auth. In the left side, go to SSH, go to auth, go to credentials. Here, please click on the browse. And here you need to select whatever the file name you given earlier as part of storing your key. Please select that file name here. Just I'm repeating. Just to open the putty shell. In the putty shell, you need to give the host IP address. After that, left side, go to the SSH. Within that, go to auth. Within that, go to click on the credential. Now here, we need to click on the browse button. In the browse button, you have to select the file which you saved earlier. Please select that file, click on the open button. After that, again click on open. Okay. Now see here, now it is asking for login as, what is the username we need to provide? Whatever the username you saved earlier, and so that is the username we need to provide. In the partition, we given one username, right? That is the username you need to provide here. In my example, I given the username as a sample. Just give the sample, click on enter. See, I connected to my virtual machine by using all these steps. Just I'm changing the settings for the visual purpose only. Just I'm going to enable the changes. Okay.
Sir, which username we have to give?
Whatever the username you given in the partition earlier, that is the username you have to provide. In the partition, if you remember earlier, we changed the key comment, right? That is the username you need to provide.
Sir, we are getting a error, connection timeout.
Other people, you are getting any kind of error?
I'm also getting the same error, sir.
No, sir, I have connected.
No, please give the proper IP address. You have to take the IP address from the external IP address, and with that you can able to connect. It won't give any kind of, it's a kind of a straightforward activity.
For me, actually, earlier also it thrown the same error, sir. It didn't result.
When? As part of compute engine?
Yes.
Okay.
At that time, only for me it got. You have checked also.
Oh, okay. Offline people, you are connected? Yes. Okay. Okay, offline everyone is connected already. Online, I think one person is having this issue already. Any other people are facing the issue? It's a straightforward activity. We are not doing any extra things here. We are not started any programming also. We have started any practical also. Just we are creating a cluster virtual machine, and for that just we are connecting by giving the IP address. Okay. Now just observe here. Now this is the way simply we can able to connect to our virtual machine. But if you observe here, whatever the IP address we are taking here, and this IP address is not a kind of a static one, because whenever we are, so this is the cluster I created. If you want, what we can do here is we can able to stop the cluster and we can able to restart the cluster. Now tell me, whenever we are going to restart the cluster, we are going to see the same IP address, or this IP address is going to change?
Going to
Different.
change if it's
Obviously,
not
it is going to change, and it's a kind of a dynamic IP address. Now it is showing this IP address. But for example, today you are completing your practice, you are stopping the cluster. Tomorrow you are going to restart. If you are going to restart, what will happen? Again, this IP address is going to change. For example, your requirement is you want to maintain this IP address as a static IP address only, because we are going to use the same Dataproc cluster for the today's practice and tomorrow's practice also. I don't want to change the IP address. I want to maintain the same IP address for today and tomorrow. Indirectly, I want to give the static IP address instead of the dynamic IP address only. For that, what we have to do here is just if you move right side in the network interfaces, just to move the right side, and in the right side you can able to see the option called as a view details. Please click on that. In the right side you can able to see the option called as a view details. Please click on that. Okay. After that, it is going to open the window like this, and in this window, if you see the left side, here we can able to see the option called as a IP addresses. In the left side, you can able to see the option called as a IP addresses, and please click on that IP addresses. Please click on the IP addresses. Okay. Now here you can able to see the IP address whatever you saw in the previous window only. In the previous window you saw one external IP address, right? That IP address you can able to see here. Now for this one, what we have to do here is whatever the IP address you are having in the previous window, for that IP address in the right side, please click on these three buttons. Three dots, sorry, my mistake only. Please click on the three dots. Don't click on any IP address only. Whatever the IP address you saw in the previous window, for that IP address, right side, you can able to see option called as a three dots, view actions. Please click on that. Here, what is the option we are having? promote to static IP address, which is nothing but whatever the IP address currently you are having, that is a kind of a dynamic IP address, but I want to promote it as a static IP address. For that reason, just you have to click on this. Please click on that. Click on promote IP address. Click on promote IP address. Once you click on that, it is asking some name, and please give any generic name in the lower case. If you see below, they are given some kind of rules and lowercase letters, numbers, and hyphens are allowed. Just give a generic name for the simplification. Give the name and click on reserve button. Just give a name and click on reserve button. What is the meaning of reserve here? We are reserving this IP address as a static IP address, and for the purpose of reservation, just we need to click on the reserve button.
Excuse me. So it should this dynamic will be for the normal VMs also, right? Which we
Yes,
are
correct.
creating.
Yes,
Okay.
correct.
So for that
But
also,
we are mainly dealing with the master only. So for the master, if
Okay.
we are going to change, we can able to handle everything from the master only.
okay.
So
For
we are
the
not
V-
going to connect to the workers generally. Generally, we are going to connect to the master. On top of the master, we are going to perform our required activities.
Okay. In normal VMs, when the like in real time they have generated one VM, right? So they are also doing this same process,
Yeah,
like
they will
by
do the
creating
similar kind of process.
static.
Yeah, correct. They are going to
Okay,
give the
okay.
static, because every day they are
Every
not
time.
going to create the different VM. So every day in a project, we are going to maintain the same cluster continuously. For that reason, they are going to create a kind of a static IP address, and they will share that static IP address to us. And on top of the static IP address, we are going to connect to the putty shell. With that, we are going to perform our required activities in the real time. And just I'm repeating, Andy, whatever the activities we are doing here, these activities we are not going to perform in the real time. Tell me, these are the kind of a data engineering activity, or these are the kind of admin activities?
Admin DevOps
Creation of the
stuff.
cluster, creation of the IP address, or connecting the IP address, or converting it from the dynamic to static, static to dynamic. All these are the admin activities, Andy. But for that reason, can we be able to skip all these topics as part of our classes? Obviously no, because you need to perform the practice on top of your cluster. For that reason, in the class or as part of doing the practice, you yourself is acting as an admin, you yourself is acting as a data engineer, you yourself is acting as a tester. For that reason, you yourself has to perform all these activities to perform the practicals. For that reason, just we are spending 10 to 15 minutes on these activities, and don't think that you are going to perform all these activities as part of our real-time projects. Okay, now just I want to summarize so far what we did.
Sir,
What we
1 minute, sir.
Yeah, please.
Sorry. Could you please tell what I need to do in promote IP address window, sir?
Now just you need to click on the promote IP address, and once
Okay,
you
sir.
click on the promote IP address, it is asking the name. Just give us some generic name and click on the reserve button. That's it.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah, okay.
So where this generic name will be used?
Where this generic name is going to use, I will show you only just one second.
Okay, okay.
Okay, after doing this activity, please click on the back button here. You can come to your back page. Okay. If you see the IP address, earlier here, if you remember, here we are having the name called as a amferl, and amferl is a kind of a dynamic IP address. Now, whatever the IP address, now we created as a static IP address, we given the name, right? That name you can able to see here, which is nothing but by seeing the name, you can able to understand, you make it as a static IP address. That's the reason it is asking the name when we are converting it as a static IP address. Just to go to your VM instances, there click on your virtual machine. Once you click on the virtual machine, again you can able to see the option called as a network interfaces. And in the network interfaces, earlier we are having the external IP address. Now also we are having the same external IP address. But if you remember, earlier here we are having some different name called as a amferl. But now you can able to see the name as a whatever the name you given, that is the name you can able to see on top of your IP address. Okay, tell me what we did so far. First step, we created the cluster. After that, we generated the key by using partition. After that, we added key to our master machine. After that, we connected to virtual machine from putty. After that, what's one more activity? We made or we converted dynamic IP address to static IP address for future activities. What is meant by future activities? If you are going to stop and restart the server, your IP address is not going to change. With that, easily you can able to continue your work on it. For that reason only, just we converted our dynamic IP address to the static IP address. Okay, these are the 5 steps only we did so far as part of our practicals up to here. Okay, now we'll try to understand. You connect to
Static
the
name is not showing for me.
it will show. For other people, it is not showing the name. In the external IP address, we can able to see that name. Whatever the name you given, that is the name you can able to see in the external IP address. Please click on the reserve when you are going to promote to static IP address. Give the name, click on the reserve button. After that, please come to this window, your virtual machine window. There you can able to see the IP address. On top of the IP address, you can able to see the name, whatever you given in the previous step. Okay. Now tell me why we are creating this Dataproc cluster, for what reason? That's the main topic, right?
Okay.
Huge amount
Data
of
cl-
data.
Here we are going to
Hadoop.
perform, we are going to deal with our Hadoop, or we are going to deal with the
Spark.
Spark. So to deal all these kind of things only, we are creating all our cluster only. Now our cluster is ready. At the same time, you connected to the cluster also. Now, if you want to see whether Spark is installed or not, whether Spark is working or not, only here just give the command called as in our putty shell only. Please give the command called as PySpark. Please give the command called as PySpark. PySpark. Just give a command called as PySpark in your putty shell. Now see here, if you observe, once you given the PySpark, it is opening your Spark application. It is using the latest version called as a 3.3.0 and it is using the Python as a 3.10.8. So here PySpark is nothing but Python plus Spark. Okay, actually we can able to deal with the Spark by using different languages only. By using Java we can able to deal, by using Python we can able to deal, or by using the Scala also we can able to deal on top of your Spark. Now Spark can able to maintain by using the Java or by using the Python or by using the Scala. Now for example, if you want to work on the Spark with the Python, then what is the command we are giving here? We are giving the command called as a PySpark. Once we are given the PySpark, what is happening? We are getting output as a, we are getting the window called as a Spark, and this is the prompt only. This is nothing but the Python prompt. Here we can able to see the Spark with the Python. Okay. Now for example, if you want to come out from this window, give it as a exit. Please give this command. Please come out from this window only. Just I'm showing you whether Spark is installed or not. Spark is installed and also Python also installed automatically. If you want to come out, give the command called as exit, open bracket and close the bracket. Click on enter. Okay. Now, for example, if you want to work with the Spark by using the Scala only, then we need to give the command called as Spark shell. If you want to work with Spark in combination with Scala. But tell me here, what is the Scala, Java, Python, all these are? These are all the different programming languages only, like C, C++, like this. We are having the Java, Python, Scala, all these are nothing but different programming languages. If you want to deal with the Spark, we can able to deal with the Spark by using Java or Python or by using the Scala. You can able to deal with the Spark. If you want to connect with the Spark with Python, we have to give the command called as a PySpark. If you want to deal with the Spark on top of the Scala, then we are going to give the command called as a Spark-shell. Please give the command. Spark-shell. Okay. Now, if you observe here, it is connected to the same Spark again. But earlier we got it as a Python, but now what we are getting? We are getting it as a Scala, which is nothing but
Scala.
you are going to work on the Spark with the help of the Scala. And now here also, if you see the prompt, earlier just we are having the 2 greater than symbols. Whenever we are seeing the 2 greater than symbol, that is nothing but our Python prompt only. But comment here, what the prompt we are seeing? It's a Scala prompt. Indirectly, if you want to work on the Spark by using the Scala, give it as a Spark-shell. But if you want to work with the Spark by using the Python, then we can able to give it as a PySpark. With that, we can able to connect to the Scala Spark, or we can able to connect to the PySpark. And again, please give the same command exit, come out.
Actually, sir, as a data engineer, this will be handle these programming languages like Scala, Python, all those things.
Yeah, just 1 second, Andy. So I think exit is not working. Just give it as a Control C, Andy. C for cat. Control C. Please give that. With that, you can able to come out. Okay. So someone is asking the question: as a data engineer, are we going to deal with programming languages in the real time? Answer is yes. Okay. But are we going to use all the programming languages, or we are going to use any one of the programming language in the real time?
Anyone.
We are going to use any one of the programming language. And for that reason, as part of our classes, we are going to discuss about the Python. Okay, so in our coming classes, might be tomorrow or day after tomorrow onwards, we are going to start with the Python and so we are going to discuss about the Python programming language. For now, don't worry. So I'm going to cover about the Python also in the very detailed way. But just for understanding, I'm telling that we created the cluster. On top of the cluster, what we are doing, we are connecting to our Hadoop with the help of the Spark. And if you want to connect with the Spark by using the Python, we are giving it as a PySpark. If you want to connect with the Spark by using the Scala, we are giving it as a Spark shell. In the same way, if you want, we can able to connect with the Spark. We can able to work on the Spark with the help of our SQL queries also, Spark and SQL. If you want to perform that activity, we have to give it as a Spark SQL. This is the one more command we can able to use. Now tell me, by using this command, what is going to happen? You are going to work on the same Spark, but by using the SQL queries, we are going to work on this only. So just give this also one time. Please give this Spark-SQL.
Sir, every time we are doing this Spark, right? Programming or connectivity DB. So Spark is also like one type of cluster, or it is a storage?
No. Spark is a kind of a data processing framework. So for that reason, for now, just understand that Spark is nothing but it's a kind of a data processing framework. What is meaning of data processing? If you want to perform any kind of transformations or anything, those activities we can able to perform by using the Spark. Okay. But in the coming classes, we are going to discuss in detail about Spark. At the high level, just try to understand Spark is nothing but it's a kind of a data processing framework for now.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Now see, once we, yeah, please.
I got some error, sir. I'm not able to connect to Putty. Can you help me after the class, sir?
Yeah, after the class, we'll check it. Other people, you are facing any issues with the Putty? Offline people, no one is facing the issue. Online people, one person. Any other people?
Yes, sir. Me too, sir.
Okay. Any other people? 2 members. Any other? So it's very simple. If only 2-3 members are facing the issue, might be you did some kind of mistake as part of the configuration. That will check after the class. Okay. Now, if you are given the Spark-SQL, what is happening here? We are connected to the Spark SQL. Here you can able to see the prompt called as a Spark SQL, which is nothing but here we are going to use the Python or we are going to use the SQL queries. Whatever the SQL queries earlier we discussed, same queries we can able to run on top of your Spark SQL prompt. Just I'm trying to show you how many ways we can able to connect to the Spark, because in the coming days, most of the activities we are going to perform on top of the Spark only. You can able to connect by using the Spark shell, by using Scala. By giving the PySpark, we are going to work on the Spark with the Python. If you are given the Spark-SQL, you can able to perform all the activities on top of the Spark with the help of the SQL. This is the way we can able to connect to the Spark by using the different options. But tell me here, have we installed the Python here? No. Have we installed the Scala here? No. Have we installed the Spark SQL? No. Have we installed the Spark? Have we installed the Spark framework here? No, Andy. You haven't installed anything. Then who is doing all these activities automatically? Your Dataproc service is taking all these kind of activities. And for that reason, in the definition itself, we discuss about this. What is the Dataproc? It's a managed Apache Spark and Apache Hadoop service, and which is nothing but whenever we are going to create the Dataproc cluster, it is going to take care of all the Hadoop related applications or Spark related applications on top of your cluster by default. With that, it is installing all the required software. Okay. Now,
Sir, 1 minute for Java. Like, what is the?
Yeah, for Java directly we cannot able to connect here. And if you want to work on the Java, we need to use the IDEs. IDE is nothing but it's a kind of again third-party application tool.
Okay.
Either we are going to use the Eclipse
Or
we are going to use the IntelliJ. By using that only we can able to write the code on top of your Java. But coming to Scala and Python directly we can able to do from the prompt.
Okay, sir. Okay.
Yeah. Just come to system. I mentioned that. We discussed about how to connect to Spark in multiple ways. Okay, now just we'll try to understand one more topic here, Andy. Any idea what is meaning by LFS and what is meant by HDFS and what is meant by GS?
FS means file system.
See here, LFS is nothing but
Hadoop
your
file system.
Local file system.
Okay, please try to remember these statements, Sandy. Again, these three are also going to play the very, very important role as part of our practical, Sandy. What is the meaning of LFS? LFS is nothing but your local file system. That local file system can be your Windows local system or
Linux.
or you can call it as a Unix system. Okay. Local file system is nothing but our Windows file system, or in the virtual machine we connect it to the putty, right? That also we can able to call it as a local file system. And now coming to HDFS, this is nothing but our Hadoop file system. Okay. Now earlier we discussed why we are using the Hadoop for the purpose of dealing with storing huge amount of data and also for the purpose of processing the data. And indirectly, as part of Hadoop, we are going to get the two things. One is nothing but storage. Second thing is nothing but processing. In the Hadoop, whenever you want to store the data, here we are going to use the file system called as nothing but HDFS, or we can able to call it as a Hadoop. Sorry, it's my mistake.
Distributed file
system. Andy. But tell me here what we are doing. We are storing the files. Here also what we are doing? Here also we are storing the files only. But coming to here, we are storing the files in the Windows system or we are storing files in the servers and the Linux server. But coming to here, what is happening? We are storing all the data on your Hadoop system. That's the reason we are calling it as a HDFS. What about GS? Nothing but
Google Cloud.
Or I can able to say GCS. Now tell me in the GCS, where our data is storing? Local or Hadoop or in the
Google bucket.
The bucket your data is storing, and that's the reason. Just to try to understand, in the different places we can able to save the data. But in the next 1 hour or 2 hours, we are going to use the terminology called as a LFS, HDFS, GCS. Might be you will get the confusion. For that reason, just I'm giving the clear picture. Whenever I'm talking about the LFS, what it means indirectly is nothing but your Windows system, or it's nothing but our Linux system, or we can able to call this is nothing but our virtual machine system. This is first thing. Second thing, what about the HDFS? It is nothing but our Hadoop distributed file system. Now you try to give the answer. So far, we created the cluster where we are having our Hadoop distributed file system. Any guesses?
Hadoop cluster, like in our
where we are having that cluster.
So in our data
the same virtual machine. Whatever the virtual machine just now we opened. See here. This is the virtual machine, right? In this virtual machine only, you are having the local file system and also you are having the HDFS system. And don't think that we are having any separate software for the HDFS. Whatever the virtual machine we created, in the same virtual machine only, you are having the LFS and also you are having the HDFS. And how? See here, with the help of the VMs only, we are creating the clusters. This cluster we created by using the Dataproc. Now, as we discussed earlier, whenever we are going to create the Dataproc cluster, what is happening here? It is creating our Hadoop cluster. Hadoop is dealing with what? Storage. When it is dealing with the storage, what will happen? Automatically, it is going to have the HDFS. On top of that only, we are going to save the files. And just to try to understand the linkage. And we are talking about the virtual machine. Where we are having the virtual machine? The cluster. How we created the cluster? By using Dataproc. What is the purpose of Dataproc? To create the normal cluster, to create the Hadoop cluster. To create the Hadoop cluster. In the Hadoop, what we can do? We can able to perform the storage. Where we are going to store the data? In the HDFS, we are going to store the data. Now, if you come back again, where we are having HDFS indirectly, HDFS also we are having on the same virtual machine indirectly. In the same virtual machine, you are going to have the LFS and also you are going to have the HDFS. Any questions up to here again, please ask me. Any questions or confusions? Everything is clear? If everything is clear, now we'll try to understand one more thing. So see here, with all these things, what I'm doing here is I'm trying to create a base, and once you understand the base, what will happen, then whatever the use case we are going to discuss in the 2-3 hours, you can understand all the use case very easily. If you are unable to understand these basics, and without having these basics, you cannot able to understand the use case, whatever we are going to discuss on top of our data prop. That's the reason. If you have any small question also related to this topic, please raise it. We'll discuss one more time. With that, we can go for the next steps. Okay. Any questions up to here? All right. Okay. Now see, for example, you are working on the virtual machine. Now in this virtual machine, do we have any data so far? We created the cluster. In the cluster, we are having the virtual machine. We connected to the virtual machine from the putty. Now in this virtual machine, do we have any data? No. Okay.
No.
Now, for example, in my Windows system, I am having data in files. So what I'm telling here, in my Windows system, I am having the data in the files. Okay. Now my requirement is copy these files from Windows system to virtual machine. Now tell me indirectly, from which file system to which file system we are doing this copy? LFS to HDFS or LFS to GCS or LFS to LFS?
LFS to
LFS to HDFS.
LFS to LFS. And so we are not doing anything with HDFS now. Just what I'm telling, I want to copy the files from Windows to Unix. Okay, I'm not telling about the HDFS. And now earlier we discussed Windows is nothing but is a kind of a LFS. Unix also is a kind of a LFS only. Indirectly, you want to copy data from the LFS to LFS only, which is nothing but I want to copy data from the Windows file system to our virtual machine or on top of our Unix box. Now, to perform this activity, here we are going to use the tool called as a WinSCP. Yesterday in the Telegram group, I messaged you, right? So what I asked you to install, and I asked you to install the WinSCP. Now try to understand what is the purpose of the WinSCP, and so what is the purpose of WinSCP here? With the help of the WinSCP, you can able to move the files from the Windows system to the Unix system by depending on our requirement. You can able to perform this activity with the help of the tool called as a WinSCP. Hope all of you install the WinSCP, and so please try to open the WinSCP. Go to start. Go to start, search for WinSCP. Go to start, search for WinSCP. Click on WinSCP application. Go to start, search for WinSCP. Click on WinSCP application. Okay. Now, once you click on the WinSCP application, it is going to open the window like this, Andy. Now, in this window, if you observe here, it is asking the host name. What is the host name we need to give? Any guesses? What is the host name?
The VM external IP.
VM IP address, Andy. Please copy that IP address to here. Your VM IP address. From where we can able to get the VM IP address? Go to your Dataproc console. From there, you can able to get it. For the simplification, if you want, copy that IP address into Notepad, and because in the coming classes also, we need to use that IP address multiple times. For that reason, just copy that IP address to your Notepad. Please go to your IP Dataproc console. Go to your virtual machine. In the network interfaces, you can able to see the IP address. Please copy that and give that IP address here. In the host name, please give the IP address. Don't do any other activities, only just give the only host name. I will tell you the next steps. Okay. After giving the host name, please click on advanced. In this window, you can able to see option called as advanced and please click on that. Please click on advanced. Once you click on the advanced, in the left side, you can able to see the SSH and in the same way, in the putty window, whatever we are seeing in the same way, if you click on the advanced button, in the left side, you can able to see the SSH. Please click on that. Within the SSH, you are having the three options: key exchange, authentication, bug Sunday. Please click on the authentication here. Within the SSH, please click on authentication. Within the SSH, please click on authentication. Now it is asking the right side. If you observe, it is asking the private key file and please click on the three dots here. In the private key file, please click on the three dots. It is asking your PPK file path. In whatever the path you are having your PPK file, please select that file, click on open. Please select the file and click on open. Click on advanced, then go to SSH. Within the SSH, go to authentication. In the authentication, right side, click on the three buttons of the private key file. Please select your PPK file. After that, please click on OK button. After doing all these activities, click on OK. After that, don't give any username and don't give any password and just click on the login button. Click on login. Once you click on the login, it is asking the username. What is the username? Earlier in the partition, the partition, you given some name, right? That is the name we have to provide. In my example, I'm giving it as a sample in my system. Give sample, click on OK. Give the username, click on OK.
Sir, I got error like continue connecting to an unknown server and add its host key to a cache.
Okay, 1 second, Andy. You're getting error. Yeah, click on the accept. It is showing warning or error. Just 1 second. 1 minute, online people. If it is going to pop up any kind of warning message or warning window, there you can able to see option as a yes and no, and please click on the yes button. Please click on yes. Connected after giving yes. Okay, nice. Okay, once you click on the yes button, now it is connected. You can able to see the window like this, Andy. Now you can able to see the two partitions in this window. Left side partition is nothing but your Windows system. Right side partition is nothing but our VM machine, Andy. So in the right side machine, you can able to see the VM. In the left side, you can able to see our window machine. Now what we can do here, whatever the files you want to copy, just we can able to perform the drag and drop operation. With that, you can able to copy all the files from your Windows system to your VM machine. And this is the way simply we are going to use the WinSCP tool. See here, this is the one of the tool we are going to use as part of our real-time projects. Andy, you need to have some basic, very simple tool. You need to have some basic knowledge about WinSCP tool, how we need to connect to the WinSCP. After that, how we can able to copy the file. If you want to copy the file, what we can do here, just from the left side to right side, we need to perform the drag and drop operation. With that, you can able to copy the files. Okay. Now, if you observe here, just go back to your virtual machine. If you are in the Spark SQL prompt, to come out from the Spark SQL, give it as an exit. Exit with a semicolon. Don't give the brackets, Andy. Exit with a semicolon. By using that, you can able to come out from the Spark SQL prompt. So how to clean the window in the UNIX? How to clean the window in the UNIX?
See, clear.
Give the command as a clear, and with that you can able to clean the window. Now my requirement is in my UNIX box, I want to create a folder for my use case, Andy. So how to create the folders in the UNIX box? How to create the folders in the UNIX box? Please try to recap your UNIX command knowledge.
MKDIR.
To give the MKDIR. And I'm just typing the name as a use case 3. You can give any name only. Just for my understanding, I'm giving the name as a use case 3, mkdir use case 3. Just click on enter. Now I want to understand in which directory currently I'm working. How I can able to understand in which directory I'm working?
PWD.
PWD.
Give the command called as a pwd. If I'm given the pwd, here we can able to see current path is nothing but home sample. What is the sample? Any guesses here? This is our username and the username you given, that is the username you can able to see on your system. But coming to my case, I given the username as a sample. For that reason, I am seeing the path as a home/sample. Just what we did in the virtual machine, we created a folder called as a use case 3 and D. Now please come back to the WinSCP. Please come back to WinSCP. Now if you see in the WinSCP, what is the path it is showing? Home/sample in my system. In our system might be it is showing it as a home/your username and D. But here I am not seeing the use case 3 folder. How I can able to see the folder here? I created the folder in the virtual machine, but I'm not seeing that folder here. How we can able to see? Above you can able to see option called as a refresh button and D. Please click on the refresh button. Please click on the refresh button. Once you click on the refresh button, here you can able to see the folder which you created just now only. In the Unix box, whatever the folder you created, same folder you can able to see in the WinSCP also. But how it is possible? It's very simple, because in the left side to what we connected? We connected to virtual machine only. For that reason, whatever the activities we are doing in the virtual machine, everything will reflect automatically on top of your WinSCP and D. I created the folder called as a use case 3 folder. I created the folder called as a use case 3 folder. That folder we can able to see automatically on top of your WinSCP. Okay. Now in this use case 3 folder, I want to copy the files. From where to copy the files? From my Windows system, I want to copy the files and what I will do here is just I will share few files to you.
So that can be called as a cluster or proc data proc.
Which one? Andy?
That's just we have created, right?
Which one? Virtual machine are asking or cluster or what?
Yeah. See, we have created one cluster, right? In cluster, we have created one master and 0 child. Yes. So the which we logged in, the sample one, we can call as cluster or data proc.
It's a cluster only. See, by using the Dataproc, you created the cluster. Now we connected to the cluster. Why we are using the Dataproc here? To create the cluster. On top of the cluster, we are going to perform our activities which are related to the Hadoop, which are related to the Spark. Okay. Now we are discussing about Dataproc only. But in the Dataproc, what we did, we created the cluster. After creation of the cluster, why we are creating the cluster? To perform some activities. What activities we are going to perform on that cluster, that we are discussing now.
Okay.
See here in the Telegram group, I'm going to send the 5 JSON files and you can keep all these JSON files into a particular folder. You can give the name as a use case 3 and in that folder, please copy all these files. In Telegram group, I sent 5 JSON files to you. Please download those JSON files into your Windows folder. For that folder, you can give any name, but my suggestion, give the name as a use case 3. Okay. Now, once you created the folder in the Windows, what we have to do, please come back to the WinSCP and in the WinSCP, we are having the Windows on the left side or right side? Left side, okay?
Left side.
In the left side, above you can able to see the drop down option. By using this drop down option, you can go to the C drive or D drive or E drive by depending on your requirement and So in whatever the drive you are having the files, please go to the drive and open the folder. After that, you can able to see all the files like this. In my system, in the D drive, Qt, Dataproc, JSON folder, I'm having all this in the same way. Please navigate to the path in the left side panel to your Windows path. in the left side panel, please go to your Windows path, wherever you copied all the JSON files, please go to that path. Now in the right side, whatever the folder you created, use case 3 folder, please go to that folder in the right side. Now any guesses what we are going to do? Yes.
Drag and
So
drop.
we are going to simply drag and drop all these files from the left side to right side only. Drag and drop one by one file, or if you want, you can drag and drop all the files also. Just drag and drop. See, your files are copied from where to where? Your files are copied from the Windows system to your virtual machine. Indirectly, your Windows to the Unix, or we can able to call LFS to LFS and D. So whatever the files we are having in the local system, just we copied all those files on top of our Unix virtual machine. Okay. Now go back to your Unix and D. Now I want to see whether files are copied really or not. How we can able to see that information? I want to see whether files are copied or not.
Go to that
I'm given the
folder.
ls-ltr, but here I'm not
No.
seeing any files.
No.
What's the reason?
We need to go
I
to
am
user
in the
case 3.
sample directory. Within the sample, what is the directory you created? Use case 3 folder. We need to go to that directory. How to go to this directory? cd space folder name. This is the one more command we discussed earlier. And with the help of the cd command, you can able to go to the respective folder. Click on enter. Now in this folder, we copied the files and now just give it as ls-ltr. Now see, in the Unix, you can able to see all the list of the files. So we perform the files copy from the Windows system to our virtual machine with the help of the WinSCP and D. Now we'll stop the session here. In the 11:45 session, we'll continue about the remaining activities here. So far, just we make the ready of the files. We created the cluster. We connected to the cluster. After that, we copied the files from the local system to our virtual machine. Now on top of this, what activities we are going to perform here is, we are going to write the Spark code. With this, we are going to read the data, and we are going to write the data, and we are going to perform Spark SQL operations for our use case. So these are the activities we are going to perform. Those topics we are going to cover as part of our 11:45 session. Now, whomever not completed all the steps up to here, so you are having the around 1 hour gap. In this 1 hour of gap, please make everything ready up to here. So with that, we can able to continue the session in the 11:45. It's fine. Okay. Coming to online people, whomever facing the issue so I will ping you in the Telegram group at 11:30 or 11:25. Please connect at that time. So we'll see the issues, whatever you are facing. With that, we can able to continue for the 11:45 session. So please don't miss the 11:45 session because in the 11:45 session only, we are going to discuss about the main concepts on top of our Dataproc by using the use case. Okay. Thank you.